I like to think that I am a better reporter than I am at speaking or telling jokes. Other people tend to agree. And as I was thinking about coming to this conference and what I could say, I thought back to a recent joke that I attempted to tell, and the reaction of a sports writer who was there for the telling, and he kind of laughed a little bit, and he turned to me and said, "Well, how many FOIAs did it take for you to get that one?" And I had to hand it to him, because it had never occurred to me to FOIA jokes. Now it has. The reality is, I don't, this may be news to some, but I don't spend a great deal of time or stay up late at night and kind of put my fingers together and think about what I could possibly FOIA from governments. My approach is generally, I only would think of sending out a FOIA for something that I already have a sense exists, something that I'm already looking for. And so what I thought I would talk about just briefly is my experience with FOIA, my approach to it, and how I employed it over the course of a year that I spent reporting on a story about mineral rights that some of you may or may not have read. But because it's a really complicated and boring story, to just give you the basic background, when I was a reporter at the Bristol Herald Courier, this is now about 2 years ago, I had received a tip from some residents that there was a big pot of money containing millions of dollars natural gas royalties that came from production in Southwest Virginia, and that there people who owned that money weren't being paid, and that there was no oversight of the fund, and that who knew if these energy corporations that were producing this gas and supposed to pay into the fund were actually doing so. So it sounded interesting to me. I didn't really know much about energy at the time. Of course, that's what I cover now. Funny how those things work out. And so there was enough in it that engaged my interest, and I did a little bit of initial reporting, and I went out and talked to people who were upset about the issue, were affected by it, and I set out to answer just a few questions, which were broadly, is it true that people are not being paid for their gas that companies are producing? And if so, why is that? And is it true that this fund exists? Millions of dollars of the fund, which I was quickly able to establish, yeah, the fund exists. And why are royalties accumulating in this fund? Whose job is it to really make sure that the people are paying the right amounts of the fund and protect the integrity of it? And it took a long time, and I did file a lot of FOIAs eventually, or FOIAs that retrieved a lot of material. And what I would say about FOIA from a journalist perspective is it's rarely as easy as just asking for something and getting it. There aren't that many easy answers to be had in FOIA, and it's a powerful tool. And that was how I used it in the course of my story, and the kind of things that I got back when I wanted to know. Here's this state board. It's got 7 members. They're supposed to regulate the industry, and they're the custodians of this fund. Well, how do they view the responsibility vis-a-vis all this money that's sitting in there? I learned that there hadn't been any audits of the fund in 10 years, and so I requested the last audit. I think it was like in 2000, cost about $4,000, not a very expensive audit. And I'm reading through it. It's not short. It's not a good read. But I'm reading through this audit, and I get to I think the conclusion section, and there's some line in there that says, expressing an opinion about compliance with the requirements of the fund is beyond the scope of this audit. Therefore, we express no opinion. And again, it's, wait, what? This is an audit of the fund that's not expressing any opinion about whether the people required to pay into it are compliant. So that was valuable. This is something that I found under FOIA. It kind of cemented my intuition that there were probably some problems with oversight. I got emails from these board members that I wanted to see what people thought about having an audit, which is something that had been discussed on the board. I knew through some sources that it was a point of division and dissension. And so I requested their emails, anything related to the audit. Turns out a few of the board members weren't really that excited about having an audit, and in fact, one of them sent some sort of email about, well, this is really opening a door that I don't think we want to, be opening. Not exactly a smoking gun, but again, something that sort of illustrates to me the thinking of one of these members who's supposed to be regulating the fund. And again, raising questions that I really wanted to be answering. The single most important document that I got under FOIA was a spreadsheet. And it was a spreadsheet that listed 800 or so accounts, individual accounts in this escrow fund. And it listed which company was responsible for paying royalties into that account. These were monthly reports. And it listed how much they paid in a given month, listed interest earned or lost, and then the total. And what on the face of it, that didn't tell me a whole lot. Although, again, I looked at these spreadsheets and I looked at the deposits column, and I saw a lot of zeros. Just zeros all the way, and some amounts here and here and here. And again, I wonder, well, are they not paying because they're not supposed to pay? Or is there something else going on? But what I was able to ultimately do with that spreadsheet was that I established that the names of these accounts are named things like AA66 and VC-50147. Just things that you can't make a whole lot of sense of. But what I learned was that they were actually linked to the names of individual gas wells. And once I learned that, then it began to make more sense. And I realized that there was a relationship between accounts and gas wells. And I learned the way it worked was the company that operated a gas well, whenever the gas was subject to any kind of legal ownership dispute, was supposed to pay royalties into an account that had been created for the well. And so what I did from that point was a fairly simple query, which just took all of the data that I had. I think it was 18 months of it that I first looked at. And I simply asked, show me all of the accounts in the fund that have not received payments for months when the corresponding wells produced gas, because they should have, under almost all circumstances. And what I found was, well, at first I found that there wasn't a lot to it. There were maybe 4 accounts that was barely anything, and then I had to go through an extensive process of pruning the data. When I got that ironed out, it turned out that, well, actually a significant number of the accounts, about 30%, weren't getting payments at all for any of the months when these wells were producing gas. And at that point I had something